Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Transfer Talk. I am Dia, and as always, I'm joined by Harvey from the Red and Blue side to talk all the latest Palace transfer rumours. So Harvey, let's get into it. First rumour of the day, Wilfried Zaha. Here we go again.
Here we go again.
Exactly. PSG are interested in him, according to reports. And some Palace fans I saw online wasn't too upset about it because we talked about earlier on in the week, he said that he wanted to leave for trophies. So he'll move abroad. PSG are a massive club playing in the Champions League. So I
Yeah.
think, how I see it, this would be positive for all parties involved.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard so many links over the years with Wilf and so many different parties that want to, invest in him or take him on. We know the talent he has. And really, it's been a case of which club. It's been a combination of factors that Palace have been looking for. A combination of a club that will be willing to pay the money that we're asking for. And again, we'll just reiterate for those of you who may be watching who aren't Palace fans, who don't understand the situation. We know that Zaha's not a 70 to 80 million pound player in terms of the stats or, his performances over the last year and a half, 2 years. But it's the right fee because that is the price that someone's going to have to pay for us to properly replace a player like Zaha. We're not going to be able to bring anyone in of his level without having 70 or 80 million coming in for him. So that is the reason he's set so high, is because he's that important to the club, that important for our survival. He's irreplaceable. So that is why he's got such a high price tag. And so that's a big reason why PSG, for example, are one of the teams that are probably more likely to sign him than, say, a Spurs or a Chelsea, who have been linked in the Premier League over the last few years. So PSG is definitely a strong link. As you mentioned, Champions League, and only a few days ago we were talking about he wants to win trophies. Zaha, he's come out and said that in that interview with Rio Ferdinand. So I think that works for him. It works for us because of the price. I think PSG would be willing to pay that sort of money, or maybe a little bit less, but even so, a big price tag they'd be willing to pay. He'd be there going there winning trophies, which is what he wants. And all in all, it won't affect us because he'll be in a different country. It's not like we'll have him coming back to Selhurst and ripping us apart, which is what we probably do fear that. So it worked for all parties, as you mentioned. I can see it being a really good way to settle things and to see Zaha go out on a high and also finish his career maybe in another country, staying at PSG for a number of years in the future, winning loads of trophies. I think it works for everyone.
Do you think he can get the game time at PSG though? I think that's the one worrying factor to consider because one, they have got the resources there, they've got quality players there, and also they've got the ability to spend and add more great players into the team. And you don't want Wilf to go to PSG and become a role player and him not getting much game time because this is his prime. This won't be like how it was at Manchester United where he could come back to Palace and get along with his career. This would be arguably his last big move.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think as it stands right now, he doesn't start. I think that's fair to say. But again, like we mentioned yesterday or earlier in the video that's just come out with Batshuayi and Giroud, it's going to be like a domino effect. A lot of these transfers, if anything is to happen. So, for example, I think that Neymar's been there or thereabouts in terms of leaving PSG. That's like a big story coming out of France and potentially going back to Barcelona. And Mbappe's been linked with Real Madrid for quite a while now. Will he stay in France, or will he want to push on and go to one of the big clubs in the world? I know PSG is up there, but the next level is Real Madrid, Barcelona. If one or both of those players go in the next couple of seasons, it opens up the winger spot completely. You've got Di Maria, who's coming towards the end of his career. So there's a number of players there that their futures are unclear at PSG. So a player like Zaha coming in could get more game time, definitely in the league. I think the French league is so much easier than the Premier League. He would definitely get game time, I think, in the league. Whether he'd start consistently right now or not is probably a no. But as I said, if players start leaving and going out the door, you never know. You never know. And I think it will depend on the outgoings at PSG before there's a potential incoming for Zaha.
Yeah, I could still see him starting in that side. I feel like there might be opportunities, especially if they want to rotate players. But of course, as you said,
Yeah.
it'll be hard. But leave down
He'd
your
win
comments down below.
trophies though. That's important for him
Exactly.
personally. You know?
Exactly. That's what he mentioned as well in the Rio Ferdinand podcast. But let us know in the comments down below what you think about Wilfried Zaha. Would this be the right move for him, do you think? So let's get on to the next player. QPR forward, Eberechi Eze. He's been linked with Palace before. It seems like
Yeah.
Palace are looking closely at him and he's valued around £20 million. So looking at some of his play, he's very skillful, right-footed. He's a forward, can play as a central attacking midfielder and out wide. In a way, he reminds me of Max Meyer, what we expect of Max Meyer to be at Palace.
Yeah.
Would you take him as Wilf's replacement?
Absolutely. For right now, he's one of my firm favourites to replace Wilf. I know he's not the same level as Zaha, but he's a young player showing a lot of potential in the Championship. Some really brilliant performances. Perhaps consistency's not been thereabouts. I think QPR fans would say that his consistency's not been great, but same with Wilf. That's something that we've experienced with Wilf. That's fair to say. I think he is a perfect mould for our typical style of winger. You know, those Zaha and Balassi are great examples. And we've had them throughout the years. Moses going back further, you know, in my lifetime at least. Wingers that like to cut inside, are skillful, tricky, like to take on the fullbacks rather than play conservatively. He fits that mould. He plays with no fear. He's willing to run past players and to take them on. Doesn't matter what level he's playing at, whether it's an experienced fullback or, you know, a youngster he's up against. He's willing to take them both on. And I think that he would fit in brilliantly as a replacement. Around 20 million is like the fee that they're looking at, and I think that's fair. I think that because of the ability that he's at already, he's knocking on the door of a number of Premier League teams, and he's definitely got potential to get even better. I think that he's a player that would excite Palace fans. He would definitely get bums off seats. And, you know, that's always been a big thing for us, having those tricky wingers who get bums off seats at the end of the day. And I think that he'd fit in the mould brilliantly.
And the fact that you mentioned the £20 million fee, I think that's important because there have been some people saying that's a bit too much for him. But this is what I'll say. Who can you realistically expect, even during this coronavirus pandemic, to get as a 21-year-old? How, you know, he's a homegrown player. He's shown quality before. You can't really expect to get anyone like that below £20 million. And he's played for England as well. So for me personally, I agree with that £20 million fee. And I think that if he is available for that much, the club should go for him. You're going to have to take risks. You never know with the transfer market. You might have more of a quality player who comes to Palace and doesn't work out. So, yeah, I'm not that worried if you don't spend that much money.
And on top of that as well, it's very similar to our situation with Wilf at the moment. You know, if people think that that's quite a high fee for a player who's only had a couple of full seasons in the Championship, although he's done very well, he's unproven at the top level, obviously. You just have to look at Zaha. You know, we've set a price that high because we know that the only way we can replace a player of his quality is to have that amount of money in to you know, find an adequate replacement. Same with QPR. They know that he's their best player. They know he is so important to their success in the short-term future and long-term future. If they lose him, they're going to need around 20 million to get a player of his sort of quality or potential in. So it's understandable.
Yeah, 100%. Agree with you there. So let's move on to the final player. A player that not many Palace fans probably have heard of. Even I didn't till today.
Yeah, I'll hold my hands up.
Exactly, till I researched him. And Jeremy Ngakia for a free transfer from West Ham. Palace and Tottenham are rumoured to be linked with him for free transfer this summer, of course. But interesting thing is, he decided to decline a contract at West Ham, and this is disappointing many West Ham fans. He's only 19 years old. We need a fullback. He's a right back. He's looked decent in the games that he's played. He's only played 4 games, one of them being Liverpool is the game that I looked at. He looked decent. I wouldn't say he amazed me by any means, but what would you see with this one? He's a free transfer, so there's not much to lose out on, really.
Yeah, of course, not much to lose out on. I do think it's strange for him not to want to sign a contract at West Ham, you know, coming through the academy there. Obviously, West Ham fans will know more details on this than us, but I think that for a player of his age, 19 years old, turning 20, I think he is, he's already made appearances in the first team at that young age. Doesn't matter how good young you are. If you're making appearances for West Ham, at that sort of level, then you're doing okay.
Yeah.
For him to not sign a contract, you look at West Ham's situation. Worst case scenario, they're going to get relegated this season. They're still hovering there or thereabouts. If they get relegated, he will almost be a definite starter next season for them, the player of his quality. If they stay up, he's still getting game time, albeit off the bench, and it's only a little amount of game time, but it's really good experience for him. I don't see why he would want to leave at this stage. Obviously, maybe something's gone on behind the scenes, but in terms of how it would suit us, I think that I like the fact he's a young player, and we're focusing on young players coming in to sort out that average age of the squad and looking for the future, which is good. I like to see that from the club. But when we've got Ferguson being a strong link, we've got Mitchell as well. I know he's a left back, but again, we've got fullbacks in the academy who are knocking on the door as well. I think that it wouldn't make too much sense him coming in right now, even on a free. I think if Ferguson is happening, which looks like it's going to be the case, then I don't see any reason to bring him in.
The thing that's coming out of West Ham is that his agent apparently is behind this. He doesn't want him to sign a new contract at West Ham.
Is.
Exactly. And that's not really ideal situation. You don't want to be with a player with his agent like that at the club, because in the future, he may create problems. Let's say that Ngakia was a success. If he joins Palace and is a success at Palace, then there could be time where his agent might try to force a way out of the club. But as you said, I feel like this is more of a backup plan to Ferguson and the other names that we mentioned.
Good point.
And I don't blame the club. I really don't blame the club, because we've been really played about before. So it makes sense to have a backup plan to a backup plan at this point. So let us know what you think in the comments down below. Ngakia, have you seen him play, and would you want him at the club? 19 years old. I don't think there's much to lose out on, especially if you're getting it for free. But yeah, that's it for today. As always, if you have enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. And until next time, up the Palace.